This is going to be episode number 2 with Justin Rae from Cinch. And if you've been listening and paying attention, you know that Cinch is the title sponsor. So that's great. Glad to have him on here and talk about things that are going on at Cinch and technology and in the industry. How are you doing, Justin?
Doing good. Doing good. How about
Awesome.
yourself?
Doing good. The weather, it's very cold here. Looks like it's probably cold out there where you're at. Not much precipitation, though.
Yeah, it's very similar. We've had a very dry winter here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, abnormally dry because I think from last October till the end of the year, we had 6 inches of snow, and normally we would have had like 50.
Oh, where are you at?
Durango, Colorado.
Oh yeah, not too far. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we're practically neighbors, right? Like I can get to you faster than I can get to Denver.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any weather we get, maybe a day later you're getting. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of comes across that way. So if you don't mind, go ahead and take a quick minute to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Justin.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm Justin Rae. I'm the founder and CEO at Cinch. We are a data science and automation company. So we essentially ingest all of a shop's data, whether that's coming from the shop management system, their point of sale, their website, wherever there's data on your customers and their behavior, we ingest that into our software. We then store that, we clean it, we match it up across the different sources. So we're trying to really end the siloed data that might be between the different tools that you have and put it all into one place. And then we run data science on top of that allows us to understand predicting the miles that people are driving in a day, predicting when they're going to be due for certain services based on that, predicting how valuable they're going to be over the next 12 months, how valuable are they currently, right? And then we use all of that rich data that is applied to each customer's profile. And we can use that to automate communications for those service reminders or thank you, post transactions, lost customers, schedule reminders, appointment reminders, whatever. And so it gives us the ability to really cater those messaging directly to people. So, and I got into this. So the first company that I built in the automotive space started in 2012. And building a very specific CRM tool for another company, another brand in particular, and then left that in about 2019 and really started Cinch. We got our first customers here in April of 2019 and have been growing ever since.
So pre-COVID, huh?
Yeah, pre-COVID, just before COVID. Yeah. Yep.
So that's interesting. Like, what was happening at the end of 2019, and did COVID like help launch Cinch? Because customer contact was a big thing in the beginning there.
Yeah, actually, interestingly, during the first, we launched in April, and pretty much most of 2019, we were really just working with the customers that we had and the people in our network to really refine the product and make sure that it was working the way we wanted it to, and that there weren't any hiccups with it. And so, as we approached into the end of the year and planning for 2020, the plan was to really hit hard on sales and go after automotive then. But pretty quickly, we actually went to the Jiffy Lube convention, and it was almost like right after the Jiffy Lube convention, COVID hit. And we'd lined up some great deals and opportunities there, but then nobody knew how people were going to drive. Nobody knew who was going to be in the if you could go to work, right? And so 2020 turned into a really interesting year from that aspect, where we weren't really able to sell a lot of customers in automotive until late in the year, till Q4 for sure. And we basically had 6 to 8 months of trying to find other places and opportunities. E-commerce was taking off, so we picked up a few e-commerce customers. But by fall and winter 2020 and early 2021, we were back at it with the automotive.
Yeah, that was probably the one and only conference you did that year, would be my guess. I know the end of 2019, I was looking at 2020 as for AutoFix-Auto shop coaching. I signed up for probably 6, 7 shows, and it was going to be the most we've ever done in a year. And then all of them got canceled.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, do you want us to keep the money? Do you want to return it? What do you want to do? And I'm like, you know what, just return it at this point, because I don't know what's going to happen. But really, our industry as a whole, I think, did really, really well through COVID, just from the other coaches in the space talking to their clients like, hey, this is what's working this week and this is what we're doing. And then we spread that. I think we did a lot better as an industry as opposed to the restaurants, because the individually owned restaurants, I think, were just kind of like swinging in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely it started that summer was a great summer. There's a lot of things that were going on there. Though we had, we had some customers. We had a good number of customers in the LA area that they also like. It was really interesting just because of that period of time that there were riots going on down there, and they were like every other week having windows smashed and insurance claims and whatnot. So it was an interesting time, that's for sure.
Yeah. So as I'm going to change gears for just a second. So as a leader, as a founder, do you listen to podcasts, or do you read a lot of books, either to just to like change gears in your mind or to help you out? And if so, like, what are you listening to or reading right now?
Yeah, I typically I'm less on podcasts. I will do a lot of audiobooks, but I don't necessarily subscribe to like a podcast and follow it all the way through. I listen to podcasts when people are like, "Hey, you should listen to this episode."
Yeah.
But I'm very much an audiobook person. I guess one fun thing about me, I typically listen to most things at least 3 speed, and so it lets me get
Okay.
through things really fast. But I'll listen to a lot of business books that just help me understand how to be a better leader, how to manage better, how to maybe just think about different perspectives differently. And then as a parent, I actually listen to a lot of parenting books and how to,
Okay.
maybe manage our house or teach our kids better, or whatever it might be. And then I'll listen to some sci-fi or fantasy type book every now and then, just to get a totally change of perspective.
What's one that you've done recently or that you're listening to now?
So I've listened. I'm actually just about. I actually listened to a really good one called "Woke Racism" not
Okay.
too long ago. That was really good. That's the one I just finished, and then I have a kid with ADHD, so I was listening to "ADHD is Awesome," which
Okay.
is a pretty interesting perspective on looking at it instead of as a disability, but as like what are the talents that come with that, and
Right.
how to help raise a kid from that direction.
Well,
Uh,
and so I would tell you from data that we've collected, and I heard this number and I didn't believe it, but we started collecting it. About 53 to 55% of all shop owners are either ADD, ADHD, or like on the spectrum in some way, like have Asperger's or something like that.
really
And yeah, and so when I first heard that, I was like, that can't be true. And so now when a new client comes on, I kind of ask them like, hey, is there any type of anything I need to know about to make me to be able to coach you better? Do you have ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, things like that? And it's right on the money, like right at 50% of all of our new clients are on that scale in one way or another.
interesting. Yeah,
And I've had several. My Kimberly, she was a special needs para, and so I talked to her a lot about how to create notes for people that have Asperger's and things like that, because it helps if they're color coded and all those things. So anyway, it's very interesting for our industry.
that's really interesting. Well, as far as that goes, I might. I really recommend "ADHD is Awesome" by
Okay.
was Penn Holderness and
Oh,
Kim.
okay. I know my wife follows that family on like Facebook and
Oh yeah,
Instagram and whatever.
yeah,
Uh so I actually know who that is. Interesting.
yeah. Another one was "Taking Charge of ADHD," and that was by Russell Barkley. And there's one more that Oh, just seeing another book I finished not long ago is Algorithms to Live By. That's for anybody that really wants to think about data. But
Well, there's probably not a whole lot of us out there that like data and numbers. Like some do, some don't. Interesting. So just so everybody knows, I use Cinch in my shop and I love the product. I think it's amazing. There's a couple things that we've been able to do and some stuff that we're working on, specifically on the thank you letter side and some stuff. And I know you guys have. I don't know if we want to talk about it here, but I'm meeting with Gabe later about the AI generated thank you notes and some of that stuff going out. And then we're working on some stuff like you've got oil change reminders and all that, but we're working on tire reminders and stuff that's more specific to my customers. And that's the one thing I love about Cinch is you have a CRM, but you have it. It's probably the most malleable. It's probably the most customizable one that I've seen. And I think it's awesome. So I guess maybe the next question is, do you guys consider yourself like a CRM, or what would you call yourself? And then tell me why a shop owner that's not using anything, or maybe is using somebody else, should they use Cinch?
yeah, I think I'll address three things there, and I'd really, we're more than a CRM in the sense of what the auto industry views it as. I talk with our team as we're more like a customer experience and data platform, right? We bring all of that data together, and it allows us to do a lot more with it. So, like you're mentioning with handwritten cards, or being able to do, we can find partners that provide specific communication or special attributes that they can give and do. And we can coordinate the data moving between those different aspects of tools, right? We can automate the communication with, in this case, the handwritten writing tool company that we're working with. And then, but we also have a few other things. Just by having the data in a way that we've structured and set it up, it allows us to really bring in new things very quickly. And so two of the things that maybe are really valuable that you're talking about there is the repeat transaction calculator. So it allows us to basically say, hey, when somebody has this purchase or this transaction at a certain date and time, we can then predict the number, or you can tell us how many miles or days you want between somebody being reminded for that service again. And using our prediction on how many miles they're driving in a day, we can then identify when we anticipate that they should purchase that again, and then trigger that new communication. We also have, we work with all the OEM manufacturers' data. And so we have on the flip side, we can just say, hey, the manufacturer's maintenance guidelines say that at 90,000 miles, these are the services you should perform. And so we can recognize the vehicles in the database and automatically start to reach out to them maybe at 85,000 miles and start saying, your manufacturer recommends these services, right? And we have those cataloged for you, and you can start to communicate with customers so that they have a better understanding of what might be available to them. And that really helps when you have them in the shop, and you've got a CSA or somebody, a technician that's going through. These are the recommendations that we recommend you get done in addition to whatever service you brought the vehicle in for. Helps them recognize that this is just regular maintenance that their manufacturer, Toyota, Honda, have recommended that they do. So,
And then one of the other questions I asked is like, why should people choose Cinch?
yeah, I think that the biggest advantage to choosing Cinch is the flexibility to really accomplish whatever it is that you have in your marketing dreams, right? There's those really cool, unique things that you come up with or you think about doing. And we typically can connect to that data and we can make that happen, whether it's an email or, one of my favorite stories is actually we had a company that has about 20 plus locations. As we were working and going through the demo with them, they told us about a scenario where they provide brownies to customers that spend over $900 or $1,000 on a transaction, right, as a thank you. And but their process in that was they would every so often have to go out, get the transactional data, pull it in. They'd find the customers that met that criteria, then send it off to the company that was sending brownies for them. And then they, in the end, they ended up getting about 20% of those brownies back, right? And so while the office staff loved getting those brownies back, obviously
Right.
management wanted to reduce that as much as they could. And so on the call with them, we were able to show them that, hey, we can work with that partner that you have, right? We can automatically send the customers that meet that criteria every single day. So in their process, it was a manual thing where they wanted to do it once a week. It turned into, every 2, maybe 3 weeks sometimes. We were able to show them how we could do that automatically every week. And then in addition to it, once we learned about the problem of the return brownies, we were able to add into the process a step to check to ask the customer, is this your address? We want to send you something, or we want to send you a thank you, right?
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
and so that was able to reduce that, right? So now we took a process that was manual, taking time, and also wasted expense on some of those brownies that are being returned. And because of our flexibility in being able to do that, we built an integration with the partner that was sending those. And I would highly recommend it. That partner's Mailbox Power. You can actually, we're fully integrated with them. You can go to their website and see all the gifts that you can send from them, and we can automate sending those. And so really just having that flexibility is what sets us apart, right? We're connected to the data. We have the data very clean. By having that clean, it allows you to be able to use it a lot more. And so our mission at Cinch really is to close the data gap. How can we make it so that the data you have is effective and you can actually deploy and use that very quickly?
Well, and so you're a data guy and you use the word data a lot, so I know it's important, but a lot of shop owners out there wear their tinfoil hats, right? So should people be scared of data or who has their data or things like that?
I think that in today's day and age, it is becoming less and less of something to be concerned, right? Especially just as long as you're working with people that are following the laws, that are aware of what data laws are out there. Other laws that could be is the text messaging and email laws, and ensuring that on their platform they're complying to those. That's really what I would highly recommend. There's plenty of protections and guards that are out there for that. I would say, when you're connecting your data and sharing that across, just make sure you understand what data governance is that the companies have, and how they're going to work with your data and use that. Right.
I say this mostly tongue in cheek, but people sometimes at the shop, they don't want to give us their email address. They don't do everything. And I tell them, I'm like, pretty much the Russians and the Chinese know everything they need to know about you. So I don't know that you really should be scared of any more data being out there. But excuse me, my goodness, it's funny. We have an older generation of people that won't give you their email address, but yet 30 years ago, their address and their home address was in a book that was free to everybody, and somebody could have drove to your house and done whatever they wanted to then. And so I tell people that, and they just kind of look at me with their head cocked sometimes.
Yeah, it is kind of funny to think back to those good old days of the phone books that would get thrown. I mean, it's probably only been like 3 years since I haven't had a phone book thrown on my doorstep, right? But yeah, having, I mean, those, they got smaller as lane lines got smaller, or less of us. But yeah,
Right.
there's just so much data out there that you definitely want to be conscientious about that from some spam aspects. But I think for the most part, giving your contact information to the shop, and the shop being able to share that in places that can use it, there's very little threat to that at this point.
And if you go to my dad's house, it's probably there, right? Obviously, not near a telephone. Actually, I know where it is. If you go into his house where he has his charging station for his cell phone, there's one phone book like right underneath it. But it's a phone book from our little town in Oklahoma that he started writing people's phone numbers down in like 1983. So people would come to me all the time and be like, "Hey, you need a new phone book." I'm like, "Why do I need a new phone book, or why do I need to advertise in a phone book?" Because my dad just throws the new ones away because he has all the numbers in the very front of this phone book from 1983. But anyway, so not to harp on the data thing, but this is the technology cast. So how does Cinch use data differently or better than the other companies in your space?
I think the biggest thing is just we have worked for most of our team has worked in data. We know and understand how to manage data, how to make it work quickly, how to clean it, what are the problems that typically people run into. And then we put together different machine learning algorithms that really help clean that data up and make it usable, right? And so that's something that really sets it apart. But then we've built the architecture of our product all the way around being able to how quickly can we take that data and get it to a place where you can use it, whether that's through BI and business intelligence and using reports, analytics, or if that's through communicating with customers. And as some of the stuff that we're really excited and working on right now is that places where you can use AI, right? AI is everybody's, the hype and the buzz. AI is only going to be as good for any of these shops as clean as their data is, right? You've got to be able to clean that data up in order to have an AI be able to give you good data. And then you've got to have the AI, or in this case, really the large language models, LLMs that are using it, they have to be able to understand and interpret that, right? And so you've got to teach it where that data is coming from, what that data means. And if it's messy, it can really skew the understanding, especially as it continues to learn about your data. So those are some of the things that I think really set us apart. Is just to sum that up, is that we have a team that understands the data and has lots of experience in working with data, and we built the foundation of Cinch around how to use the data, and we really focus on cleaning it up and making sure it's most accurate as we can get it.
Well, so we have vocabulary we use in the auto repair industry, like average repair order, return on investment, effective labor rate, and stuff. And you just threw about 20 terms out there that people are probably going, I don't know what LLM is, what business analytics is, AI, data. So maybe we need to create a book for everybody out there that's interested with the vocabulary and the terms in it.
Yeah, that definitely be helpful. I know and many times when I go give a presentation these days and I'm trying to help people understand these, I have to give some terminology at the beginning of the presentation. This is what this is. I'll talk a little bit more about it, and probably spend 5, maybe even 10 minutes of every presentation on some keywords and understanding what they mean.
So another question that popped into my head is on a easier level, or like somebody that doesn't know anything at all about data, because I feel like data encompasses a lot of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
can you give us, like, what does data encompass? Like, what all is lumped into that?
Yeah. So the simplest way to think about, we've talked about PII as a type of data here, right? Is personally identifiable information. And so that's the data you're going to collect from your customers: their name, their email address, their phone number, their mailing address. That's going to be PII, right? And then what's actually really cool about the automotive industry, one of the things that I actually love about it, is there is probably more data than any other industry, right? And more concrete, direct data, right? You might have some competition with healthcare and dental, and as far as that goes, maybe veterinary, but those can start to be into a little more abstract in some aspects. Where in the automotive space, you actually have very direct, like, here's the manufacturer, here's the year, make, and model of the vehicle, right? Here's the engine type, here's the trim, right? And those are all defined. And by each one of those, you have certain maintenance requirements. You have certain parts. Those parts are all labeled. All of that data is very clearly defined and put together in places that you can access and use that data. So, just knowing a part number and the year, make, and model and engine that it's going to go in, that's very unique, right? And there's just so much data around that aspect. So that's one point. Another part, you can have data like your location data. The address of your location, the hours that it's open, the store manager, things like that are going to be another type of data. We've kind of talked about the transactional data from the point of sale, but that would be your invoice data, your line items on the invoices. You've got your schedule data. you can then take all of this data that you have already, and some of what we do with that data science is we actually look at maybe the last location somebody visited and how often they come in and how much they're spending, what their average repair order is, right? And we can put that all together to create new data. And that's what we do with our data science that enriches your current data. So you have your customer profile, you've got Chris Cotton here, that he came in for, XYZ services last week and he spent this much. Maybe he had to use this coupon as a discount. And then we can enrich that data now and say, okay, well, Chris is in the top 20% of your customers. We anticipate that he'll be back at this cadence. This is his average time between visits. We can use that data then to create new data inside of Cinch that is going to tell us when we're going to communicate with him. What did he, and this is where you start to get into the really fun aspects of data science, is you've now created something to know how valuable he is and when we should communicate with him. But now we reach out, we send a communication, an email, a text message, maybe even a postcard, which is another plug just for Cinch I'll put in there, is that we do have the ability to run automated postcards, just like you would in email every single day, right? But you can send that communication out. How Chris responds to that communication is creating new data. And that new data actually feeds us on how we can respond to him next time, right? Did he open an email? Did he click on an email? Maybe you had a QR code on a postcard. Did he scan the QR code, right? All of these things tell us more about and are generating new aspects of data, right? And so when you really think just the data, when you sum it up, it's just any portion of information that we're storing in software or on a computer to help us keep track of information.
So so thanks for that. I think that's great, and it really gives us more information on what data is. Where's this data at? Like, do you have like a building full of servers somewhere that crunches and looks at that, or what is that? What does the capacity of that look like and the capability of that?
Yeah, so most modern software companies have a database in the cloud, right? They have the data stored on something like AWS or Google or Microsoft, right? Those are some of the biggest ones. There's ones that are smaller and more affordable, things like DigitalOcean that are out there, and then you have, so that's storing it on the cloud. You also have some of the tools out there right now. They store them on premise, right, where you've got a server that you build or a computer in your office that they can run there. But for us, we're storing ours in the cloud and running there. It gives you a lot more redundancy, backup. If there's a fire in one location, we've got it backed up in another location.
Interesting. Thank you. So I want to kind of start like wrapping this up a little bit. Is there anything new and upcoming at Cinch that people need to be on the lookout for? Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to bring up or talk about now?
Yeah, we've got a really exciting roadmap this year. One of the big ones that I think will be especially valuable to those multi-locations are going to be a feature that we're working on in order to help you better manage all the location data, right? So it's quite interesting to us that in some of our customer bases where, they literally have hundreds, pushing thousands of locations, and they still manage all of their location data in a spreadsheet. And so we're looking at how can we help companies like that to be able to manage that data inside of a tool that allows them to collaborate with in similar ways that they might if they're doing it in a spreadsheet on Google Docs or Microsoft OneDrive, right? Is that they might be keeping the types of services that they perform at those locations, the current discounts, the address, the store manager, the district managers, right? As far as all of that information is still just in a spreadsheet, and we want to be able to help take that out of the spreadsheet and put it into something that's that can be a little more collaborative, but also connected directly to that information. Because from our aspect, it's if we know who a store manager is, we can actually put a store manager's name onto the communication or email that went out, right? Or if we know the hours and location, we can put that on there, right? And so that's one of the big exciting ones. We're also looking forward to we'll keep it a more more high level, but a lot more AI things where people can use
Okay.
natural language and be asking for specific things, and we'll be able to help get more information back, and doing a lot of that this year. So we'll also be one other really exciting thing is just trying to figure out how we can make it a lot easier for smaller shops to be able to get onto Cinch and be able to use the value and get the value that some of the multi-unit or multi-location shops are getting from us right now.
For us, we're a small 4-bay shop. So we have 4 technicians, 2 service advisors. And again, we love your product. Thank you for creating it. Thank you for being the data master, if you will, and doing that, because shop owners don't have time or the wherewithal to do that, I don't think. And it's really great working with a company like Cinch.
Thanks.
Any final words?
No, this has been great. I look forward to chatting more tech stuff and hearing about the tech coming from the podcasts, and look forward to it. It's a great industry with a lot of great opportunities and a lot of new tech out there on the horizon that I think is going to really help push the industry forward and make people more effective and get more ROI.
Yep. So I want to thank Justin Rae from Cinch one last time. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for spending time. I know it's busy. I know you're busy. We all are. And I know the listeners really appreciate it. If you're interested in Cinch, go out, click the link. Also, I'd love it if you would subscribe to the AutoFix Technology Cast. You can find the link below. And also give us a thumbs up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Have a great day, Justin. I hope 2025 gets you where you want to go.
Definitely. Thanks, Chris.